You will find all the commands related to macros on the code group of the developer tab. If you don't have the developer tab turned on, you can turn it on from the Backstage view. On the Backstage view, click on Options, select Customize Ribbon, and make sure the developer tab here is checked. When that is done, click OK and you will turn on the developer tab. It is very important to be aware of your macro security settings. To view the macro security settings for Excel, click on Macro Security command on the code group of the developer tab. That will launch the Trust Center dialog box. The default settings for macro security is disable all macros without notification. In order to complete this demonstration, I will turn on enable all macros. This is not the recommended settings as potentially dangerous codes can run. So if you enable all macros, make sure to disable all macros without notification at the end of the demonstration. With enable all macros selected, I'll click OK. When you install the data analysis tool pack and the solver, you will get the data analysis and solver commands on the analysis group of the data tab. There are two macros on this workbook. The first macro, which will install the data analysis tool pack and the solver, have been assigned to the shortcut key Ctrl F. The second macro, which will uninstall the data analysis tools and the solver, have been assigned to the shortcut key Ctrl D. If I press the shortcut key Ctrl F on the keyboard, that will run the first macro, which will install the data analysis tool and the solver. The result is that I now have the analysis group, which contains the data analysis and solver commands on the data tab. If I press the shortcut key for the second macro, which is Ctrl D, that will uninstall the data analysis toolpack and the solver. The result will be that we will no longer have the analysis group on the data tab. I'll press Ctrl D on the keyboard and the analysis group is gone. To view the code for the macros on this workbook, on the developer tab, in the code group, click on Visual Basic command. On this window, click on the Project Explorer. On the Project Explorer pane, double-click on Module 1. This is the code for the first macro, which is named PMAC and assigned to the shortcut keys Ctrl F. This is the code for the second macro, which is named dpmac and assigned to the shortcut keys Ctrl D. Remember that the first macro will install the data analysis toolpack and the solver along with the Euro currency tools. The second macro will uninstall the analysis toolpack, Euro currency tools, and the solver add-in. To delete these two macros, On the code group of the developer tab, click on the macros command. On the macro dialog box, you can see the two macros, the pmark and pmark. If you select one of the macros, you can run the macro, you can step into the macro code, you can edit the macro, you can delete the macro, and you can see options for the macro. This macro will run in all open workbooks. You can change that to this workbook alone or just a sheet in the workbook. I will use this Sales Report 1 workbook to demonstrate how to record or create a macro. Instead of having empty cells in a range of data, it is more meaningful to provide characters that represent missing values. I will demonstrate how to record a macro that will provide characters that represent missing value in empty cells. To record this macro, I'll select an empty cell in the range. On the code group of the developer tab, I'll click on record macro. On the record macro dialog box, I'll provide a name for the macro. I'll name this macro missing. I'll assign the shortcut key to this macro to Ctrl M and click OK. Note that the command here have changed from record macro to stop recording. This is because Excel is actively recording the macro now, and any step I take will be part of the macro. Note that I have selected a cell even before the recording started. Otherwise, even the cell selection will be part of the macro. I'll enter the character for missing value, NA. Hit enter on the keyboard and stop recording macro. The missing macro will insert the character NA in a selected empty cell. To run the macro with cell D3 selected, all I have to do is press the shortcut key, which is Ctrl M. With E2 selected, all I have to do is press the shortcut key, Ctrl M. If you have multiple workbooks open, like I do here, I'll switch windows so that you can see the other workbook. So I have this workbook where we have recorded the macros. So that's where we have pmark and dpmark. Okay, so I'll close this, and the other workbook is the one Sales Report 1. Okay, so it is possible to copy a macro from one workbook to another. To copy a macro from the Sales Report 1 workbook, that is the missing macro, to the other open workbook, on the developer tab, I'll click on the Visual Basic command on the code group and go to Project Explorer. So I have for Sales Report 1 workbook, I have module 1 here, which contains the macro, the missing macro. I'll hold down the Control key on the keyboard and drag module 1 to the other workbook. That is how to copy a macro from one open workbook to another open workbook.